Waiting for the broadcast to be published. I'm live. Good afternoon, good day, wherever you are in the world. My name is Todd Standing. I'm the man who takes people out in the field and has them either live interact with their eyewitnesses Sasquatch. Boy, that's a big mouthful. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning into my live show. I'm hoping for some crazy maniac questions today that push my paradigms. Those are my favorite. And as we're waiting for the questions to propagate, there we go. SoCal Force Ninjas, hiya! How are you, sir? What's up, Toddsky? I like it, Toddsky. I'm not Ukrainian and all, but Toddsky sounds pretty cool. So, I always do Facebook questions first. Hello, Jenna. Hello, Parkway, SoCal. A couple of questions I had on Facebook today is people asking me about Sasquatch speaking things that... Honestly, I think it's terrible evidence, and honestly, whether it's real or not, it just, I don't know. A guy could do that. I feel like, comparatively speaking, when I hear these calls that like these really powerful, loud Sasquatch calls, a lot of them I feel are authentic because I'm hearing powerful lungs that are delivering enormous sound that is, it's not a megaphone or a speaker or something. And with today's technology, maybe you could fake it with a speaker, but it looks like it's in the bush, looks like it's out in the middle of nowhere. And the volume and something just rings true to me in my heart. This is just entirely my opinion, so take it as it is. But it sounds ridiculous. I've never heard a Sasquatch ever make that sound. Not to say that it's not legit, but I've never heard anything like that. And the Japanese talk or whatever they call it, I don't. It just the bottom line is just not good evidence. It doesn't. I don't think it makes us look very good too. It's like it's just something a person can do. So how is that ever going to be good evidence for us? You know what I mean? It's clearly something a man could do. I hope I'm being heard. The audio is good. And so I feel like it's very poor evidence. It's not even, it's evidence it's so bad, I don't even think it's really worth even bringing up. So ask me about a white Sasquatch. Somebody saying, rabbits turn brown and white, but bears don't do that, deer don't do that. Rabbits are an exception, not too many species do that. And I've seen, there's a Sasquatch in my research area that I saw that's very like salt and peppery kind of gray, just because, and I think he's old. So just as they get older, I think they're just gonna, turn grayish at least. I've never seen white on a Sasquatch. That older one, I've never seen what I could definitively say is, oh, that's a white hair. So I had a really good look. Well, maybe I'll talk about that. Let's go back to that in a minute. I'll answer these other questions too. How many provinces or states have Sasquatch? I'll tell you, Hawaii does not. And then in Canada, I don't know, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland. I hear things both ways, either islands. But, in the United States, as far as Texas, Skunk Ape in Florida, so there's a lot of Sasquatch reportings and activities. Game cameras again. Game cameras are always come up when we talk about them. They got glass on them, and they're a piece of plastic. And what I'd like to talk about, how do they avoid them? For God's sake, you're dealing with trackers, people. When you put a game camera down, the tracker will see you walking along, then he'll see you stop and walk around it. And you know what I mean? Like it's really, a bent blade of grass is gonna be a red flag to a tracker. Never mind a glass bearing. People seem to think that since they're camouflage, you can't see. There's glass on them. There's no camera I've ever seen that doesn't have a piece of shiny glass on it that reflects. Never mind the tracks. Never mind that you're dealing with the best tracker of all time. I almost think it's really preposterous to think, well, how could they avoid game cams? Well, it's easy. It's a joke. I'm gonna try something different this year. There's a video that I looked at this earlier this year. Fans of mine will know it's a camera that was looking at an eagle's nest, and there was a Sasquatch that's moving below, and I feel tremendously that's a real Sasquatch just because of the movement of it and whatnot. And I thought, damn, that might be a good idea to put a trail cam way up in the tree. But then if you put it up too high, it's not going to have the sensor they won't work. If at 30, 40 meters, they don't pick up the move. It's really not, people, I'll tell you guys, you really got to get this through your head. And I don't mean to be a jerk here, but the difference between theory and practice is freaking night and day. You think these game cams are some freaking miracle? I'll tell you something. Try to put a game camera up in the wilderness without any trees around. You know what trees do? They sway in the wind. And then you get this game cam and you have 5,000 photographs and the card's full because the wind was blowing and the trees were moving. You know, people have this idea about game cameras and the miracle. They work poorly. Even just my own theory, like, oh, I'll put one up in a tree. Wait a second, you put up in a tree, the tree will sway. The game cam will be, you know, filming its brains out, and then putting it up in the right place that a Sasquatch is going to walk past. Have you seen how infinitely large the wilderness is they walk in? It's ocean, like it's an ocean of trees. Put it in the exact spot a Sasquatch is going to walk. Like, there's just so many things, guys, that the reality of people that are boots on the ground, we just look at you and go, really? You think that this is the end-all, be-all? This is just the stuff? You know, I've got Survivor Man got one game cam top of the head of a Sasquatch, and it was, I don't know, it was because it was my group of Sasquatch, and they were just fearless. They're the wild bunch, and they were running all over the place, and they grabbed that stuff, but even that, like, the Sasquatch came in plain view of it two times. Well, first a pika knocked the darn thing over, and then and the second time, I don't know, he just moved so fast. The camera barely turned on quick enough, you know. So it's so many things. People are always asking me to come down to investigate their areas. Guys, investigation takes years. I can't go to North Carolina for 5 years and start investigating. That's why I'm trying to help people and teach people. That's why I'm doing this show, is you guys got to do it. I'm not going to North Carolina, South Dakota, Utah, Washington. I'd love to. This takes years and years. I here in Canada where I live, you know how much I go. I've spent thousands of days in that area, and I'm just slowly getting decent success, you know. So do it yourself, guys. And why do you need me out there? I'm not special. Just do it yourself. You know, if you really, I help people with their research and I give them advice. Watch the Survivor Man Bigfoots and Discovering Bigfoot show, and that's you know, a good 70% of what I know is really in those shows. So there's certain things about Sasquatch I will never teach people. It's just not, people aren't ready for it. People are asking me, Mason Sylvanik, I believe, he has all these questions about how to identify a daywatcher spot. Really intricate, good questions. I'm not going to tell anybody that. I don't tell that to, I tell that to people that I've trained, and it would literally be like, you know, giving a lighter and a stick of dynamite to a chimpanzee and hoping he figures it out. He's going to blow himself up. So there's just certain things that I need to know you're trained for. You know, like there's prerequisites I need to understand about you to make sure you're not going to go do something stupid. Because if I teach people how to identify a daywatcher spot, for example, and they go do something dumb, they're going to push they're never going to see a Sasquatch there. The Sasquatch are going to leave and lose their habitat. Loss of habitat equals loss of life, because this person wasn't properly trained. And I'm not out here saying, here's everything I know about them. No, you can't know everything. There's lots of stuff I don't tell, but what's imperative and you know, foundations is what I will help people with. And people that are more advanced, I'll give them more than foundations. But, you know, that's kind of where it ends, right? Until, you know, come on an expedition and let me learn. Like there are guys that have been on expeditions with me. I'm talking about stuff that I don't normally talk about, but guys that have been coming back for years, at third, fourth year in a row, I have people coming back out for. By the way, there's a spot open with expeditions. I was sold out. Coronavirus. Someone got sick. Can't come on expedition now. So there's I don't know. I'm gonna have alternates, or there's got to be something else I can do, because it's difficult this year with people and expeditions. So I'm very happy with the people I have. But you know, somebody blows a knee, somebody gets an injury, and I wanna fill that spot. It's really like I've had expeditions where I have 3 people coming out with me and 1 person shows up. That's happened like 3 times. So you know, I wouldn't even, honestly, I guess I would do the expedition if nobody showed up, but that's not the point of them. The point, these expeditions are very, very important. The input that I get from these very intelligent people and their perspectives, and I don't know, it's very, very important to me that I get out there with people. I gotta change. I can't, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And the primary purpose in my expeditions is all the stuff that I learn from people. And you don't have to be, just the simplest questions and the simplest suggestions are they've been enormously helpful to me. Oh my goodness, I don't have my cough drops. I have quite a cold today. So why not, oh, somebody asked me why not use my own Sasquatch audio? Because the Sasquatch audio I have of the Sasquatch growling at me hostilely. Sorry, I'm really actually I have a really bad cold right now. So I'm not playing back my Sasquatch audio because the growling stuff that you've heard in my documentary and seen on Survivor Man, it's very aggressive, angry. I couldn't play that back. And beyond that, I don't have good Sasquatch calls in audio. And I don't know, I just wouldn't play them back. So can Sasquatch swim? Question I get asked a lot. And the answer is I don't know, let's theorize, but I don't know. I think no, and then I think yes, and then I don't know. But my last little thing, see, this is a redundant question. I've talked about this before, but my theory would be they're intelligent enough to know to go and grab a log, grab a piece of wood that floats. Now you can swim like crazy. So they're just so highly intelligent. They're just so darn smart that if they are theoretically too heavy boned and muscular to swim, they would grab a log and swim. So simple as that, right? My point is with them, they're just so darn intelligent. They're so smart. It's absolutely amazing. So I'm going to go through the questions here. Pearl says, have you considered the possibility of religion or astronomy in regards to Sasquatch? I will not involve that whatsoever. No, just not going to happen. So spirituality, yes. And just science. So that's what I try to think of myself as, is somebody who's spiritually trying to do things. But to get into like extrasensory perception, remote viewing, there's a science behind it, but it's very spiritual to me, I think. So it's a lot to think about. I'm trying to do everything I can within reason to help facilitate this discovery process moving forward. So I try a lot of things. There's some people that I've worked with that were very out there, and I try because I don't know, I try really hard, and I'm really open to possibilities, but not those. Steven says, I know how to do a few bird calls. Next time I see my clan, how would they react if I tried communicating with them using bird calls? I think that'd be impressive to them, just because it's nature, right? You're duplicating nature. So just remember that. I guess a downfall of that is, how do you know if it's a Sasquatch making the bird call back to you or a bird? So, because man, they do good bird calls. John Benedigal was very difficult about that with me. They were making was it a sawweed owl sound? That they were making that. It's clearly a Sasquatch doing it, but John wasn't buying it until the Sasquatch came smashing through the bush, and like a sawweed owl is a little tiny owl. He's not, and even just the sound of it was profound, because the sawweed owl has little lungs, and this was a very punchy that would really like hit you, like you feel it. I can't duplicate it very well the way they do it, because I sound more like the owl, and the Sasquatch did it with like a pounding sound. And then you hear a Sasquatch crash, crash, boom, smash, and then the sawweed owl, obviously it was a Sasquatch there. But yeah, just work on it. I mean, I have my spiritual animal is a red-tailed hawk, so I do red-tailed hawk sounds. Not very well, but nobody's going to mistake my red-tailed hawk sound for a real red-tailed hawk. But I feel like I make that sound, Stephen, because that's my spiritual animal, and that's appropriate that I make that sound. They've never made that sound back to me, but I feel right about what feels right, what feels right to you. And remember, you're a student, they're the teacher, so impress them with your bird calls. I think that's cool. It's nature. They love nature stuff, right? So lots of hays. Hey, everybody. Hi from Ottawa. Hey, Canada's capital. How are you? Bigfoot, Ontario, Michigan. Hey, Todd. I'm at work. Enjoy your shows. Thanks, guys. Samurai Chatter. I've heard it twice. Oh, good, Steve. I don't know. Hey, Amanda. How's it going? Thanks for tuning in today, Amanda. How does it feel looking eye to eye with these beings? Yeah, it's terrifying. Eye to eye. Eye to eye. I don't think I've, eye to eye. I've seen them really close. I've never went eye to eye with a Sasquatch. Like where I stand there and stare at them. I can't. I'm not capable of doing that. It's too afraid. Yeah, I would just be too afraid. I don't look them in the eyes. I keep my head down and kind of ignore them a little bit when they come around. Nope, never eye to eye. Had an expeditioner have that happen where a Sasquatch looked into the glass of the trailer at her. I don't even think she went eye to eye though. She just looked away. Yeah, so just when they're around, it's powerful. Like they have a presence, you can feel it. I talk about it when first time I met Survivor Man. It was at a Fairmont hotel, and I walked in and I could feel something. I just felt where he was because there was just a powerful energy around him. He's a very, very powerful guy. I don't know why, or how, maybe because people are thinking about him. Maybe that energy goes back to him. I've seen it with other famous people too. I was in Montana, and there was a guy in the room. There was no reason. Nobody was looking at him. It was just he just had like an aura about him, and I wasn't. I don't know how famous I was at the time. I was in the news a lot, and people knew who I was. I don't know how you judge fame. People call me demi-famous, and I don't really. But, anyways, I just felt like I kept looking at him because he had an energy, and then my partner said, "Oh, that's that guy that has that TV show." I was like, "Oh, that's why he's got that energy about him." And I noticed the guy was looking at me a lot. So, anyways, it was. That's just feelings and stuff, right? So Jonathan Stokes, it's my 40th birthday. Please give me a shout out. Love your Thanks, Jonathan. Happy birthday. What a cool age. Now you can say you're 40 till you're 50. You can't say you're 30 anymore, that's for sure. 30's done. But 40's a great age. You know, I'm in my 40s and I'm fit and strong, and you know, people there's not too many 20-year-olds that can keep up with me. I'm in really, really good shape. Training really hard for my expeditions. I know I'm sick. I had to take a few days off, which sucks. I can't work out at the levels that I can't work out at all when I'm sick. So I had to really take it easy, but it sucks to be sick. Todd, do all your troop have brown eyes? Brown eyes. Which is like Kubota looked like he had black eyes, right? Jet black, and then Jake and Jane looked like brown. Kubota's eyes looked blacker, but that was probably just the light. Very, very likely it was just the lighting. So light just makes such a difference, guys. It's just so huge. Like people that do film, lighting is key. It's huge. It's a huge, huge deal. So the female in video 4, Jane, she's dark brown, and people are saying she looks blonde, or red. No, she's dark brown. It's just the direct sunlight in the camera. You know, it's just she's definitely dark brown. In fact, I think she's pretty much precisely the same color as Jake. But Jake, I filmed Jake when it was a cloudy day. We had no direct sunlight that day, I don't think. Maybe there were patches of sunlight. It was about 90%. I do remember there's a couple shots that look really bad because, you know, it's direct sunlight. And anyways, I don't care putting them out there. So I'm not some National Geographic photographer that goes out with gorillas and spends a month shooting them and takes the best photograph out of 5,000. Whatever I get, I just get it. That's it. I'll tell you, there are photographs of gorillas and orangutans that look horrible, atrocious. The lighting's all wrong. The sun's in. They look fake. There's no other way to put it. So I remember I was working with a primatologist that worked with orangutans, and she showed me like 20 photographs that the live real orangutan looked even faker, looked way worse than the Jane photographs that I have that people complain about. I'm not a professional photographer. I'm a professional videographer, and well, maybe not that. But anyways, I do the best I can. I have camera experience, and I do well with my cameras and my equipment. I practice with them a lot, so I try to really know my equipment really, really well and turn it on and off in the dark and practice with it, because I don't want there to be any excuses when you got to practice with your equipment, guys. If you're trying to get footage of a Sasquatch, the number one thing to do is get your camera and practice, film birds, film deer, and go and test it and look at it and otherwise, you know, you're going to get crappy Sasquatch footage, and it sucks. Even I remember when I shot video 3, I didn't zoom in much. Maybe I had like a little touch of the zoom because I didn't know where the Sasquatch was going to go, and I didn't want it to be shaky and look crappy. And when I saw how fast the Sasquatch was moving, if I had zoomed in probably half of that footage wouldn't be there. It'd be gone because I didn't know he was moving so fast and I couldn't see him most of the time, or a good percentage of the time. And since I didn't zoom in too much, that was good advice for me. But then people complain about it. Why didn't you zoom in? Well, I would have lost a shot. So Amanda's talking about the Eagle Cam footage. I think the problem with the Eagle Cam footage that I would have is, I think it was just always filming the eagles. So do I have a camera that could just be filming all the time? I don't have anything like that. So, and my budget's limited. Guys, for God's sake, people just say the stupidest things to me. Why aren't you in helicopters? Why don't you use it? I have had a thermal camera. I'm not going up in a helicopter. What the hell? I don't have that kind of, like, who do you think I am, Rockefeller? Like, what the hell? You know, people say the most preposterous, stupid stuff. Why are you using this camera? I'm not using that camera because that camera's $40,000 and I wreck most of my cameras. You know how many cameras I have right now? I've gone through, I don't know, it's got to be 50 cameras I've wrecked from weather. This is the last one. This camera goes and there's not going to be any more. Like, this is it. This camera's been decent. Even just as an example, this is the Sony, this is the NX cam. And it's this all-weather tough camera. But kiss my ass, all tough. This thing was screwed up a month after I got it, and even now, like, I have to pull the battery out because I can't leave the battery in because it doesn't shut off. It turns on and off and on and on. I have all kinds of problems with this thing, but I don't like throwing things away. I think it's very wasteful, and I'm just not willing to, you know, invest. I just wreck these things. They smash, and I'm very careful. It's not like I'm some kind of goon and a jerk with my stuff. I really appreciate my cameras and equipment. I just, you slip, you fall, the weather, it gets cold and then it rain and it freezes up, and like I'm getting my ass kicked out there in the bush, you know? Like when they go make a movie, they have this thing called the contingency plan where 10% of things fail. If you go do stuff outdoors, the contingency is 40%. All these little outdoor shows and stuff you see, they have a budget for $200,000 and then they get a contingency of 40%. What is that? Like another almost $100,000 because of weather and all the stuff that happens. You slip, you fall. Like you don't control things outside. You know, a bear charges at you. You know, you fall, you slip, you twist. The weather. There's a thousand things I can't even think of that happen. You know, it's crazy out there. It's such an uncontrolled, raw. It's wild. Who knew the wilderness would be a wild place? That you have no. I don't belong there. That's not my home. I don't live in the wilderness. So, you know, yeah. So that's just some of that. So next question. I feel like I like Pennsylvanian and I'm going to go research there. Awesome. Good luck, Frank. I hope that works out well for you in Pennsylvania. Yeah, yes. Jenny says, the Sasquatch in the background looks like he's having a blast. Huh? Hmm? I remember going on a radio show where this jerk was like, he thought I was crazy because I do Sasquatch. That's the first question. He says, do you see any Sasquatch now? And I was like, I don't think you're shaving Sasquatch. You're way too skinny and pathetic and weak for that. So no, unless you're a Sasquatch, I don't see I go, do you see any unicorns? Like, come on, you know, it was actually quite disrespectful. And 10 minutes into it, he shut his mouth up because I risked my life for this stuff, and you better you better not be bashing or harking on the stuff that researchers like me do, because we bust our ass. We're out there doing things, and most people wouldn't survive with the stuff that we do. So I risked my life, and I'm highly skilled. I really know that stuff, and you know, I must have taken a decade off my life with all the crap that I've been through with it. So it's hard, it's harsh. So I don't, you know, and the natives get that a lot. That's why a lot of natives, people will go out there and talk to the natives about Sasquatch, and they just shut up. They don't say anything because you're so disrespectful. Oh, so you see Sasquatch? How many Sasquatch have you seen? They just look at you and go, you jerk. My people have been here for 20,000 years, you disrespectful chump. And you're looking at me like you never saw a Sasquatch? These people, you know, they hunt game and they skin deer and they know about the elk and everything. They have such an incredible knowledge. And you go out there going, so you saw a Sasquatch? Ooh, you're so cute. And you just want to slap them. It's like, how disrespectful are you, you jerk? It's very, very disrespectful. That's why even, you have to understand, the native people, they have an immense reverence for the species. They consider them like master, amazing, incredible species. So when you start saying, I'm going squatching, it's very disrespectful to them. And Survivor Man gets that, John Butternagle gets that, you know, a lot of the people, it's just, I know it's all in good fun and everything, I like to joke around, but, you know, people that are very religious, I don't have the right to say, Jesus Christ, in front of them. You shouldn't be taking the Lord's name in vain around people that have a reverence for that particular symbol. It's disrespectful, and I agree. So it's no different with Sasquatch. You don't, a name that they have such reverence for, you don't go say squatching, and it's not respectful, and I don't know how to explain that to people any better than that. Hey Todd, Tim here from South Carolina. Ever since coming across discovering Bigfoot, I'm hooked. Growing up in the northern New Jersey, spent 30 years in the woods, heard a lot of things. Isn't that cool the way a lot of people, Tim, like Survivor Man did it in an episode. He's like, I've heard this before. When you hear it, you don't know. When you hear something that's unknown to you, you're not going to sit there and go, "It's Bigfoot." That's irresponsible. And respect for Survivor Man and people like you, Tim, who heard that and didn't assume it was Sasquatch. But now, boom, 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 boom. Like Les is like, man, I've heard that so many times. What'd you think it was, Les? Well, I know grouse, but you're trying to fill in the space with, but that boom, 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 boom. That's a Bigfoot, and they're doing that on purpose, so they're letting you know they're there. That's why they're doing that. Even I think when there's an initial level of communication that they call themselves that. They call themselves boom, 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 boom. If that makes sense. Just as an example, I went out with probably the most profound examples of that. Like I cough and they call me, right? They go boom, boom, and then, so the boom was like, we're Bigfoot and you're cough. And when I really learned that was when I took an expeditioner out with a great big, huge, long piece of cardboard. And every morning he got up before me, he'd start the fire and you hear like this, you understand like the wing sound, like, and this, he had an incident with the Sasquatch where it came out and he went, that exact sound of him moving the cardboard, making that wind sound, and he went boom. It was like he was saying, calling that man, and boom, meet each other. And it was a very profound experience for me. So you see how the expeditioners teach me stuff? Just the simplest thing like that. This guy was very minimal wood experience. He was a camera guy for a network, and I don't know who knew that he was just out there to film a Sasquatch. Who knew he would teach me stuff, and he did. That was a tremendous lesson. I'm very grateful for. So it's just an amazing journey. This discovery process. It's been very, very amazing. S. Sanders, I'll investigate 2 recent sightings in British Columbia this summer. Can you recommend a good casting medium and possibly some advice on this process? I just plaster of Paris. I'm not much for casting tracks. Especially if you're investigating 2 sightings that happened, recent sightings. I don't know. Like it's always if tracks have to be fresh, man, to get dermal ridges. One rainfall, and all the dermal markings will be gone from a track, and that's what you really need to really get good track evidence. And then another big problem is it's heavy. You got to carry. Well, it takes quite a bit of water. You got to mix the plaster, and then you got to carry the plaster. So the day the best tracks I ever had in my whole life were purposely, there's the cat and mouse game where the mouse got the Sasquatch, to step on the right kind of surface. And I went down to go get the casting material because they don't carry it around with me ever. I mean, in all my experience, a castable track, I've seen 3 in my whole life. In my whole life, all the research, I've seen 3 tracks that were castable. And that's talking everywhere. Washington, I've been to Northern California, all through Montana, and up into Alberta and British Columbia, and all those, even before that, before I knew Sasquatch existed, I never saw a track like that. So it's extremely, extremely rare. So, and honestly, even I'm kind of like, Jeff Meldrum's tracks he's got the most incredible, amazing tracks. Tracks are just, it's Jeff's thing, and I would only do it. Nobody believes my videos. Nobody believes the eyewitnesses. Nobody believed my DNA. People didn't believe my DNA. So I'm just gonna get another track and add it to the pile. It's just not my focus, and I make no apologies for it. I don't it's just not going to be a thing for me. But all the power to you to get it done and do it. John Benedict loved tracks. He was hugely into tracks, and so is Jeff. And respect them for it. It is good evidence for them, but I just let somebody else do it. Phil C says, Todd, did you ever get that hair tested from the native man's game cam that was facing the water? No. I don't think he sent it to me. I have some other hairs that people have been sending me, and I'm just having quite a bit of trouble with some stuff right now. I got to get my equipment worked out better. I need a more powerful light on my microscope. It's such a money pit, guys. Right now I'm getting ready for expeditions, and I got to get the bikes tuned up, and they were way more than I thought to get them tuned up. And then the trailer has some damage to it from wind and snow, so I got to get that fixed up. And the money, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's very expensive and time consuming. I gotta finish another documentary for Bigfoot. I got 2 documentaries I have to work on, and then organizing the expeditions is tremendous. So I don't know. Frank, if you want to see about the expeditions, just go to discoveringbigfoot.org, and there's an expedition page. You'll find all the information about it there. So saw some negativity in the comments about expeditions on some of my videos. I don't want to start ranting about that stuff. Holy crap, guys. Like, my expeditions are all expenses, all food is all done and paid for by me. All of it. You basically come with a bag of your clothes, and that's it. Everything. Toilet, teepee, chairs, axes, wood, food, nobody has ever been hungry on my expeditions. That's the least of your worries. All food is all taken care of. And I have to insist upon that because I've never had a bear issue. That's the biggest problem with food. That's because I handle all the food, and I have things that I do to make sure that there's no food residues kicking around. You got to understand, guys, it's a bear a day we see. A bear a day is around us. And the bears in Canada are very different than American bears, because in the United States, everybody carries guns and people shoot at bears, and bears are terrified of people. And in Canada, we don't carry guns. So bears see people often as a food source, and people don't shoot at them in Canada almost ever. So it's very, very different out here. And I've seen it in the ecology. The bear behavior is very, very different. So so Amanda says, Vito Chars, we received your emails. Sorry I haven't responded yet. I'm very behind. Amanda, you're awesome. It's a lot of work what we do. And I'm just so happy to have Phil and Amanda, and Danielle's usually around a lot, and lots of people helping out. And it's wonderful to have all that. So David Shepard says, and if so, how do you, so you had another question. Where's David Shepard part 1? Do you ever think Sasquatch okay, so David Shepard part 1, do you ever think the Sasquatch tribes will take it too far with humans, where there'll be a lot of witnesses and public panic like the Kubota attempted to? They already have, David. There's, I mean, the 3 ladies that had Jake come and put his hand on the hood of their car, what do you mean, like public panic? I don't know, they just cover up everything. They cover up stuff. I have no idea. The problem is the government literally absolutely covers stuff up. No doubt about it. 100%. There are wildlife officers and forestry officers that have already come forward and admitted to this, and I know some that are still working for Fish and Wildlife that know about the most ridiculous douchebag cover-ups that just tick me right off. Total lies and garbage. They're just not even about the truth whatsoever. But public panic, I don't know. There's been terrible things that I've seen Sasquatch do, that especially on reserves. Sasquatch went, just as an example, so I caused some trouble. I was following a Sasquatch troop around, and I had a standoff with a female Sasquatch that ended very negatively. I don't know, I've talked about it 10 times. So, but anyways, she went, because of the confrontation I had with her, she went screaming right across the whole reserve, like yelling really loudly. And then the days that followed, there was the big male Sasquatch smashed houses over, wrecked barns, busted in doors. He just caused total havoc in that reserve. And I was booted the hell out of there immediately. I fessed up to everything. I told the truth and said, that it was me, the reason that female Sasquatch went screaming through the whole reserve. And so they booted me out of there. And permanently banned me. I can go back now because that person that banned me has died. But you know, the all that destruction, nobody cared. Nobody, even I know many of the natives called the news. The news didn't care. Well, so your barn got knocked down. So, you know, like barns knocked down, like horses, you know, let loose and busted up. And I mean, so much stuff happens. I don't remember. It was just like there were 10 things. There were so many ticked off people. Basically, it was all one whole side of the reserve. The big male just came from house to house and just was smashing and bashing and just, he was ticked right off. And what happened? Nothing. Nobody, you know, the news didn't care. So, so somebody says here that so Todd thinks that Ontario is faking it. I don't know. Just, in my opinion, I've never heard Sasquatch. I don't know. I would never say that about anybody. Never. It's not good evidence. If it's real or not, it's not good evidence because a man can do that. So, you know, it's like me, the tree breaks that I look at, men can't do that. That's why I show it as evidence. There are things that Sasquatch do that a man could do. It's not great evidence at all. It's a nice little story. Hey, look at the berries that got picked from me by a Sasquatch. What the hell evidence do you have that a man didn't do that? The stacking of rocks. A man can do that, unless they're big, incredible, heavy rocks that were stacked. So those things are not good evidence. You know, tracks are great evidence. Tree breaks are good evidence. A man can't make a crisp tree break. If you haven't heard me talk about it, I'm telling you, it's very good evidence. And so, yeah. And then David Shepard says in part 2, and if so, how do you think the governments will do? The governments just cover it up. I don't think it. I know that they do that and cover it up. So here we go with more questions. Ghostwriter interested, important to have potential tooth. Richard Carvier says ghost writer, interesting, important to have a potential tooth. Okay, somebody's got a potential tooth. I don't know anything about this. So teeth are very, you know, Amanda and I just had a jaw stuff that a jawbone with teeth on it, and I sent it to Jeff, and he immediately recognized it as pig. Swine, I guess, is more of a technical term. Amanda says, Ginger, Rosie, women should be cautious. It's possible the Sasquatch may be more curious than we'd like about women. Yeah, it's true. Don't take my word for it. The DNA, it's in the DNA. The Sasquatch, male Sasquatch have bred with human females only. Never has a female, in the DNA, has a female Sasquatch bred with a male human being and had offspring that went back into the genetic pool. So, and boys like girls, and there's a good chance this is a male-dominated society, and boys like girls. Boys like girls. Boys do girls. Gosh, I had Jack Russell Terriers just as an example, and there's a puddle, and I've got a 5-year-old male and a 5-year-old female. And the 5-year-old male just splashes through the puddle and gets all wet and muddy, and I see my girl walk up to the puddle and go, oh, and then she walks around it really nicely and dainty. That's the difference between male and female. You know, a very general statement, but that's really like girls, you know, like to be cleaner and neater, and boys are a little crazier, more outgoing. And when it comes to sexuality, right? It's you know, it's the guys that are chasing the girls, and the guys are big and strong and they chase, and you know, that's kind of the way it is. So I feel you, Todd, Bigfooter on a budget. Oh, yeah. It's, you know, you really decide what you can spend money on and what you can't. And I've made some mistakes with, you know, but anyways, things are balancing out for me. I get lots of support from donators and expeditioners, and now I do TV shows. It helps a little bit. So, you know, I'm a full-time Sasquatch researcher. This is all I do. And I have no qualms about saying thank you to all the donators. Thank you to all the people that are helping. Buying the movie does nothing. The movie goes, and all that money goes to, you know, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it all goes to the distributors, man. They get 99.9% of that money. So someone says, Kirk hikes. You sleep outside sometimes without a tent in bear country? I've done that tons and tons. But it's really, you got to read the terrain. Like, I'll sleep on an incline with, you know, dense bush behind me where I would hear. You just got to be really smart about where you sleep, right? So watching where the wind gauge is, knowing that my smell is going this way. So anything that approaches me, and, you know, you just got to be really smart about it, or at least I was. I always had a sleeping bag though of some kind. So, actually, no, it's not true. I guess I went out there with sleeping bags sometimes. Just I had some really good clothes on. Yeah, I've done it. Oh my God, I've done it all. No, not all of it, but I've done a lot. It's been hard. There are days where you just get your ass handed to you, and nature it's tough. Helps you respect the animals. You think, oh, look at that dumb deer and those silly elk. They're incredible, incredible animals that are amazingly tough survivors. I admire them so much for all the hardships they have to endure. Here in Canada, we have winter, like hard winter, like 4 months a year, and winter that'll kill you 6, 7, 8 months a year sometimes. Like it's hard to live out here, so it's not easy. Hey Todd, here near Mount St. Helens, I know you don't like talking about it, but why would they want to mate with female humans? Wouldn't that push the species to a smaller, more? Yeah, it would be. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. But why are there serial killer people? Why do we have narcissists? Why do we have sociopaths? Like that's just the way. That's the way society is. There's people that have all these different kinds of mental health issues and diseases. Why wouldn't there be one Sasquatch that does that and does something silly, or that finds a human sexually attractive? So look at look at the discrepancies in human sexuality. We put people in jail for the crap that they do, with their sexuality. So, yeah, I know it. Yeah, I don't like to talk about it. And like I said before, it's going to damage to think that there's not a pure Sasquatch out there anymore is very unsettling to me. Makes me very, very unhappy. Can you imagine? It'd be nice if we could find a pure strand of Sasquatch, the pure Sasquatch, untainted by human DNA. Because let's face it, we're not tough like they are. They're just, the differences are amazing, and yeah, it sucks that there's human DNA and they're tarnishing their original DNA. No pure Sasquatch left. So, okay, let's go to Raggedy Man. LOL, yeah, hover over them with a helicopter and come down with a parachute, right? So helicopters are expensive. I almost died in the helicopter. Survivor Man's helicopter ride was freaking scary. So helicopters don't do well in the mountains. Carried away. Hi, Carried. Andy Toledo. I bet it would be. I'm so intrigued. I've been a believer for a couple of years now, and I just think about them all the time. Haha. Okay, cool. Randy Jones. The one I saw looked like he was smiling. Do you think that was just wondering? Oh, wow. You saw a Sasquatch, and he looked like he was smiling. Huh. I don't ever recall. I've never seen a Sasquatch smile like that. I've never seen that. They always have a face on them. Like, do gorillas smile? Chimpanzees? Do they even make funny faces? Like they always look like it's game time, and I think that makes sense because when I'm around, I mean, they're really pushing the paradigm. They're doing something extreme by showing themselves to me, and although I don't expect them to be afraid. I don't expect them to. So I've never seen smiles of any kind. So no, not ever. But congratulations. That's awesome. I would love to hear more about that. It's bigfootencounter@gmail.com, Randy. Maybe if you could just give us a little drawing, like show us, is it like, where was it? Like, how big was the smile? Was it like really smiley, or flat? I've always seen that their face is just like poker face. It just seems very poker face. Kubota looks angry. He just looks angry. I've never seen Kubota not. I just kind of assume that's just his look. Some people just maybe look that way. Kubota just has kind of angry, dark features, maybe. Or maybe he is angry. I don't know. Amanda says, Vito Charles, you won't run out of them, though. If anything happens, they're testing your metal. Todd ate dirt. It's true. And anything to show submissiveness. Well, it's not necessarily submissiveness. Eating doesn't, because actually to submit to them is weak. What I'm doing by eating is I'm showing them a behavior that is neutral. not submissive, and not dominating. You never eat. Deer don't eat when they're running. No animal eats when he's like, oh, I'm being attacked. Let's chew down on something. That doesn't happen. So animals eat when they're content and they're happy in their spot. So by putting dirt in my mouth that day, I was just showing him, hey, look, I'm just sitting here and I'm just, then the Sasquatch, maybe that didn't work out so well because the Sasquatch whacked my hand. Like, don't eat that. What are you, crazy? So it's still a better reaction though, because if you submit, it might show weakness and you might get your ass kicked. That's a big mistake with gorillas. If they think you're weak, you come at them from a weak position, they'll want to kill you by instinct. The chimpanzees too, the orangutans, they'll want to kill you because you're weak and pathetic, and they smash that. That's kind of the primate, the wild perspective, right? And if you show hostility and anger towards them and stand up to them, well, now you got to fight. Now he's got to show you who the boss is. Whereas when you come in neutral, it's really just, it's a shock behavior. It's just to shock them and go, look at this. I'm just going to sit here and eat. How you doing? Right? And it's such a brilliant universal technique that primatologists use that taught me that I just think it's totally genius. It's absolutely brilliant. It's worked so well with me, and I teach that to my expeditioners because, yeah, brilliant stuff. She's talking about the crooked pick, brother. Todd in the Eagle Cam. Okay, a little missing some stuff here. I apologize. The Sasquatch in the background of the Eagle Cam is bouncing. There's a Sasquatch in the background. I don't know, you guys. Should be no Sasquatch. Anyway, I have a picture of, there's a poster in the background of the Sasquatch Summit I was the keynote speaker of. Okay, so Vito Charles said, I basically huddled over my wife from behind while I rushed her away and listened to see if I heard steps. There's no way I would have heard something that large if I ran after. So if you had an experience, Vito, we'd love to hear it at bigfootencounter@gmail.com. I think I'm just getting half this. I kind of bounce through these questions. It's hard because my computer is weird. I'll hit a button, it'll skip down 20 questions. Carried Away says, Ryan K. Doshers, I'd say I've been a true believer for about 2.5 years. That's cool. Thank you for being a believer. Ghostwriter, I won't let them put me a working link in a live chat. I will post to the community after the video. Okay. Jenny Talia says, Jenny Talia, hilarious. And please be careful. You might take offense to stupid questions, but maybe people are generally just trying to learn and not be as challenging as it feels, especially if you have a bad cold. I don't think there are any stupid questions. If I gave that impression, I apologize. I like questions of all kind. So, yeah, just ask questions. I don't like to use that word, stupid questions. I find that a little offensive, and if I ever came off that way, I sincerely apologize. Vito, it would be terrible if you took your wife like Kubota. Oh God, yeah, don't. That is terrible. Can't even imagine. You know what sucked too. The most horrible thing, if that happened to you, you were out with your girlfriend or wife and Kubota, nobody would believe you. You know, you'd probably get charged. They'd probably investigate you. You know, make you the scapegoat. So it's absolutely awful. So. Chicken Soup Sasquatch says, donate, don't have Facebook. It's on my website. You can do a donation, and I have Patreon as well. Todd Standing on Patreon or discoveringbigfoot.org. There's a donation button on there, so really appreciate that stuff. I'm not afraid to. You guys like to watch and learn about Sasquatch? You want the discovery done? Then make a donation. Only if you can easily afford it, though. Don't make it. You know, if this is something you're passionate about, like me. You know, I'm out there fighting for this, and believe me, what my plan is for this year is I'm seeing that I'm going through footage. There's so much footage I'm just throwing away, and just footage of cool stuff happening. And what I'm going to do is I'll make a video of me on expedition. I'll just talk about stuff that I'm seeing. We'll, trackways that we find. Might as well, and then I'll just go put it on YouTube every week. So that's what my videos. I'm just going to do Sasquatch Sunday. And it's just going to be me out in the wilderness with my expeditioners, and the results and stuff that we get. So maybe some interviews from expeditioners as to the results that we're getting. And yeah, sometimes I have a bad expedition or two though. So No, not two, but one. I usually have expeditions that, I don't know, they're all great though. There's always so much to learn. We have so much fun. So, are you still online? Yes, I'm online. Somebody asked that question. Raggedy Man, it's because that big finding he does no favors. I don't know what that means. What do we got here? Eric Jones. How big of a territory do Bigfoot groups have? Well, that's going to depend on the abundance of food. I would say that the territories are much bigger in Canada and much smaller in the United States. Just like the Sasquatch will be smaller down there and bigger up here. Things get bigger as you go north. Carried Away is, again, I just started researching a lot and eventually came to understanding that everything I thought about was wrong. We are trained, oh my God, aren't we? It's terrible. So, and not trained in a good way for a lot of things. So, people, they don't teach us any. Can you imagine there's no wilderness training in school at all? It teaches nothing about the wilderness. And because you think about it, we're fundamentally, that's where we're from. That's where hunter-gatherers, we were from the wilderness and we don't know anything about it anymore. We're so separated from it. And wow, it just sucks, doesn't it? There's just nothing. There's no, just don't do that. Ryan says, Todd, my mom wants to know when your next film is coming out. Oh, as soon as I get it done. I take a deep breath and I'm home. It's so much work. So much work. So tedious and it's so much. And everybody from the distributors to the fans, everybody wants a thing, and my life is just crazy right now. So Amanda says, sign up for the newsletter. Yes, the newsletter. We got to keep working on those newsletters. I got to do one for June for sure. Am I too late for the live show? No, Lance, I am live. You know that because I just said hi, Lance. Hi, Lance. I don't pronounce last names. I'm just terrible at it. I usually botch them. Splash Brodeur says, hi, Todd, from Moncton, New Brunswick. That's for making me laugh, and thanks for making me laugh. And my grandfather at the same time, he'd start most of his sentence with Jesus Christ. I love to make people laugh. That would be the other thing I'd like, this is something that people don't know. I had to take all the comedy out of my documentary. I do funny things. I play jokes. I say ridiculous things, and I had to take it out, and I wasn't happy about it because I'm a funny guy and I like to make people laugh. That's one of the reasons Sasquatch come around. Right before Jeff Meldrum saw Sasquatch, I was telling him jokes. He was laughing. He was having a good time. I do that, but I had to take it out, and I agreed with the distributor because people weren't taking me as serious. Like, oh, this practical joker, funny guy, he can't, he's not really doing Bigfoot. So just for the sake of the discovery process and to keep it as authentic as possible, I took all the humor out of it. And man, there were some funny things. I like to do practical jokes, and not to do with Sasquatch, just like, this as an example, I had a girl out from California and she was standing in front of the fire, and I went, ha! And I scared her, and she went, yeah! So she's in front of the fire, and I go, you're burning, you're burning. And on film, it looks like she's burning, right? Because she's, ah! And so I thought to put that in there. Look at how I scared her, and then in front of the fire, it looks like she was burning. And I said something funny, but you just can't put that in there because it just takes away from the seriousness of how important this discovery is. And, you'll never hear me joke about, there's Sasquatch jokes that are kind of funny, right? I think Messing with Sasquatch is freaking hilarious. If you haven't seen Messing with Sasquatch, the Jack Link's commercials, those are some of the funniest things I have ever seen. Those guys are comedic geniuses. And, so humor is a big part of my success. It's a big part of me having fun in the wilderness and laughing and joking about things and seeing funny things. Probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I had a Sasquatch sighting, and it was in the winterish time, and a squirrel came out of hibernation, and he was kind of getting his senses. You could see he was half asleep, and he comes out to a branch, and there was still snow under the tree, and squirrels go, they make that sound. So he looked at me, he was like, oh, you're a person. Oh, he kind of came out of it, so he kind of went to go, and he did that, and he fell out of the tree, and he went right in the snow, bonk. And I just about fell over laughing. I couldn't believe how funny it was. Then you see him getting out of the snow. He's like, hey! gets on the trees. And then he gets up on the tree and looked at me. He's like, yeah, and he shook off all the snow. You can see him looking at me. He's like, you bastard. I swear he even gave me the hand. He's like, shut up with your laughing. It was hilarious. And then a Sasquatch came up on the ridge out because I was just laughing myself sick. And, it was a very vague sighting. Like the Sasquatch just came and looked over and he just came and he was looking at me. I was just laughing myself sick. I think he kind of was like, what are you laughing at? And ever since then, it's been a huge part of my success, so just that. And my heroes are like Jim Carrey, Mike Myers, they're stand-up comedians. I watch them every week. I just love that. I love to laugh. It's one of the purest forms of joy. And, I've had at least one experience where there was some humor with the Sasquatch where I heard them play a joke on me and went, hey! And it was, I get that excitement from them. And I don't know necessarily if that is laughter, but there's just excitement and stuff that I see from them. They never played a practical joke on me that I know of. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, no practical jokes. They're always game time, serious about what they do and teach, I think. So if they have done that to me, I just didn't get it. They're so intelligent. Their humor's too smart for me. I thought he sat on Les Stroud. Am I wrong? Oh, I'm quite convinced he sat on Les Stroud. Oh, that's funny, isn't it? There you go. Thank you, Gino. That's hilarious. And they've sat on me. So imagine how funny this is. Of course, I didn't even think of this as humor. Of course this is humor. So I'm lying sleeping. And one day I wake up and there's a Sasquatch sitting on me and he's like shaking his bum. And, whoa! I roll over and the Sasquatch walks off. So I go back, I tell my mentors and my crew about what happened. And one of them is like, Todd, you snore and you sleep pretty deeply, especially when I'm at altitude and I've been hiking all day. I sleep really deeply. I'm freaking exhausted in the fresh air. Anyways, he surmised, look, I think what's happening is the Sasquatch are kind of coming around you and they're getting closer and closer. And so anyways, what I did was I recorded myself sleeping at home and then I went back and I played a device of me sleeping, making the snoring sounds that I make. So I played that and lo and behold, I heard the Sasquatch making sounds. I didn't pay attention. I just stayed in my sleeping bag and I heard him walk close and nothing happened. And I had the Sasquatch walk right over top of me, step over me and keep walking. Stepped over me. I have goosebumps right now just thinking about, imagine that. He just stepped over top of me and I did nothing. The next time he walked up to me and he sat on me. So it's like, imagine you're a Sasquatch. I'm going to rustle these trees. Look, he's still sleeping. I'm going to bang these rocks. Look at him, he just won't wake up. I'm going to walk right past him. He still won't wake up. I'm going to walk right over this guy. Are you guys watching this? I'm going to walk right over him. There's no other way to put it. No animal would ever do something like that. And they walk right over. Imagine him in the bush, high five. I can't believe I walked right over him. I double dog dare you to go sit on that bugger. Yeah, you do? Double dog dare me? Yeah. I'm going to feed you all my salmon for the week if you go and sit on that guy and rub your ass on him. I bet you that'll wake him up. And you bet your ass it will. They sit on me and they rub their butt on me till I wake up. So I'm sure they did that to Survivor Man. But I'll tell you, Survivor Man's a very deep sleeper and he snores a little bit. I shouldn't be telling you that because I guess it's a little private personal. We both snore. And, I was in my 40s and so was Les when I was working with him. Well, I was in my 30s when I started. But anyways, isn't that funny? You're going to wake up when he sits on you. Literally, it's not just like he kind of jiggles his bum a little bit. Like it's freaky. But that's hilarious. Come on. How funny is that? That is totally hilarious. So if I think about it, there'll probably be other things, but Amanda, try to remind me of that, and Phil, because that's damn funny. There's no other way is there another way to look at that? Really think about it. Could you be maliciously rubbing your bum on me? It did me no harm whatsoever. There's no pain. It didn't hurt. You could feel a bum on you, and he's moving his bum around on you. Maybe I should be checking my sleeping bag for DNA. What if he's farting on me? Right? Maybe I missed that part. I tell you, I never heard a fart. That's so funny. Gonna make me cough up a lung here. Anyways, how do you get info on my expeditions? Go to discoveringbigfoot.org. Who sent that? Mr. G-Man. Go to discoveringbigfoot.org. I have 1 spot, and I might have more spots open up. I don't know what's going on with this whole coronavirus stuff. So it's just our society's and we're having lots of trouble right now, especially in the United States. Oh my God, my heart goes out to you, the USA. My goodness, please, please, guys, gotta get it together. It's just so much crap right now. Wow, how much can a country take? It's just terrible. I love the U.S. Most of my fans and supporters are in the United States. My heart goes out to you guys. Honest to God, just take care of yourselves, stick together, be honest and good to each other, and you guys are getting hammered with the virus. There's worse stats for the virus, and then the riots and everything. Oh my God, just terrible, terrible, awful. And this really affects me. I mean, I'm up in Canada, and it's we're attached. We're brother and sister. It's just absolutely awful. So it hurts my heart to see all that going on. So heartfelt positivity to the United States, and to get everything all organized and back to work and healthy. So did you hear about Steve Culls from Monday mention you? Steve Culls was the guy that started some of the stupidest rumors that my sister's a special effects makeup artist, So he was definitively he was a big hater of mine. I don't even know anything about him anymore. Somebody told me he was a Walmart security guy or something. I don't really know. And he worked with Tom Biscardi. Tom Biscardi called me one of the first times I was ever in the news. Called me, I think I did a show with him, and I tested him. I gave him a bit of information, asked him to keep it private. He didn't keep it private for one day. I gave him private information about, a serious topic, and actually it wasn't a test. I just trust people. And he went and he blathered it all over the internet, and he went behind my back. Tom Biscardi is a lying little, he was a very deceitful, dishonest person with me, fact. And I don't tolerate that whatsoever. So I don't know if he's a changed man now, he's better, I don't know. But you know what? 3 strikes and you're out, and that's it. So I don't have anything to do. And Steve Culls was a profound, Tom Biscardi did the whole Georgia hoax, right? He was behind that whole thing with the fake mask and everything. He blew all that up, so he's just done so many stupid things, and just, it's ridiculous. So I have nothing to do with people that are, Steve Culls worked with him for years. So just not a place where I'm going to go. So you'll never see Survivor Man or Jeff Meldrum, and never John Benernagel had anything to do with those men for a damn good reason. And, so JJ, hey Todd, you had mentioned you witnessed a Sasquatch beat up a bear. That's not like that. How long did no. So I heard it happen. I didn't see it. I don't like the way these rumors get so blown out of proportion and stuff. My goodness. I had somebody talking, just saying the most ridiculous stuff. Anyways, so to be very specific, so I was going into Sasquatch habitat. A bear had my wind gauge. And so if I'm here and the bear's here, the Sasquatch was, how am I doing this? This is backwards. So anyways, it goes me, or no, bear, me, Bigfoot, and the wind is going to the bear. So the bear picks up my wind gauge. The Sasquatch comes out of his day watcher spot and beats the hell out of the bear. I hear the bear like squealing, like something's whooping its ass badly. So, and I wasn't sure the Sasquatch had came out of his day watcher spot. I was kind of like 50-50. I was like, did he just come out of that? And sometimes they'll come out of their day watcher spot to go pee. So I was kind of held my ground thinking, well, either he's taking a pee or he's getting something to eat, or maybe the jig is up. So I waited, and then when I heard that bear, I never heard a bear sound like that. That was a complete ass whooping. Like, I think for maybe 2 seconds, I heard the bear kind of go roar to fight, and I just heard ass whooping, like beating, and it was quick. Probably 15 seconds of bear squealing, like where he's getting beaten. And then as the bear was running off, he was going, he's making a sound because he was hurt bad. And that's why I was able to come back over the hill, see broken claws from the bear, blood, and something had stepped in that blood. It was a Sasquatch. It had stepped in the blood and walked in one direction, and the bear walked in the other. You could see the bear walking with I think his nails got busted really badly. He was bleeding from his nails. Well, there were bear claws on the ground. How the hell were there bear claws on the ground? Like, what the hell did that I've never seen bears fight where there's busted claws on the ground. Like he must have picked that bear up and smashed him. And I could see the bear running. He was running on 3 legs. He had his, from behind, it was his left front leg wasn't even touching the ground. And the bear's just going, it's pathetic. Like something whooped his ass big time. And so this is what I know. I saw the day watcher move. Obviously the day watcher came down. And then something went over and whooped that bear's ass. And then, you know, probably at that point the day watcher became aware of me. But, you know, I didn't see the actual altercation. I just heard. You never hear a sound like that. Oh my God. Just like, I don't, you know, bears are bears and they're not my favorite species. They're beautiful, amazing species. They're a big problem with me because they kill people and they can be very dangerous. So it's, anyways, just definitely not in my top 5 favorite species, that's for sure. I know them well because I need to know lots about them and I need to understand them for survival purposes. It's kind of like an adversarial thing too, because I feel like bears are a lot, they're just problematic for me. I don't film bears and just not big into them. But to hear that bear getting its ass kicked, and how long was the ass kicking? It wasn't long. Just when you're in the wilderness and all this is going on, it seems, I think it would probably, you know, just off the top of my head, I don't think it was more than 15 seconds, but just a brutal ass whooping. And when the bear, like it's one of those sounds where you hear, like you could hear, you know what I mean? Like the bear was screaming and something was just smashing him. Like and it's much worse than that. Like you can't fake that sound. Do you know what I mean? Like you could hear that something was pounding him, something was smashing him. Even I heard the bear, I feel like in my heart, so I heard the bear get smashed and smashed, then I heard the bear go boom, and I think he picked the bear up because I could hear the bear kind of go, and then I heard it hit the ground, just go like horribly. So in my mind, after thinking about it, I just think that Sasquatch was somehow whooping the bear's ass. Like I call it bear jujitsu. That's the only way I can really explain it. Because bears are so dangerous, man. They're just like claws and teeth right there. And if you're going head to head with them, they're dangerous. Like they have every advantage. As their genitals and hearts are all hidden. Genitals are in the back. Like us, we're all exposed. Our heart and genitals are right there. Target number 1 is the genitals. The bear's genitals at the other side. And their teeth and claws. They're monsters. Incredibly powerful. Like the power in a bear is sick. The stuff, I've seen them rip tires, steel belted tires, tear them apart. And to know that a primate species just latched onto that bear and whooped its ass like a bitch. Like, I'm sorry for the profanity, but it was a pathetic ass whooping. And that bear, the Bigfoot didn't sneak, I don't think he snuck up on him. I think the bear saw him coming. I think the bear was like fight or flight and got his ass handed to him pathetically. Like it, you know? So the partial track, I had footage of it and now I can't find it. I have like everywhere I go, all through this room, you'll see hard drive after hard drive after hard drive, gigs and gigs of stuff that I've filmed, and old hard drives from like 10 years ago that don't work and need to be fixed because hard drives don't function forever. And the old 10-year-old hard drives is where I have that stuff on there. So it would take me honestly, it would take me like 50 hours to find that footage, and it would cost me probably $500 because I have to get like 15 not 15. I have I'd say about 8 hard drives that I have to be fixed and I have to go through them all. So I just don't do it. But I'll just tell you from memory, like I'm a better tracker now, and I know more about the anatomy of Sasquatch. But it was clearly just like a very, let's say, 1/5 of a footprint. So as the Sasquatch is whooping that bear's ass and there's blood on the ground, he tosses the bear, steps on some of the blood from, I think the blood was just a broken paw or the broken nails, and he steps on it and you could see a good section of, clear, it was just foot, you know, like what the hell else would do that? It can't be bear versus bear. Just in the actual sound of the fight, bear fights don't sound like that. There's not blunt force trauma happening like whoa, whoa, whoa. Like bears don't, they rip at each other, they bite each other, you know. I've heard bear fights it was just nothing like that. It was so foreign to me. And you gotta add, right? Sasquatch was there, Sasquatch habitat, Sasquatch was came out of his spot. 2 minutes later, and a bear I didn't know was there either. So when I looked at the trackway after, I could see that bear was coming for me. Like, a bear will walk in a certain way, and when they're down low, and this was a big grizzly bear, probably at least 600-pound grizzly bear. When he gets low and he's stalking, you can see it. Like, there's more nails in the ground because he's kind of grabbing and he's sneaking. And I'm like, oh my God, that bear was coming for me. And the Sasquatch didn't see me. I would very, very likely, he didn't see me. Otherwise, he would have come out of there much sooner. So the Sasquatch didn't see me, but the bear could smell me. And the Sasquatch couldn't smell me because he was in the opposite direction. So it's just, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be deduced. But when you add things, the resultant, it speaks to something. It tells you, it gives you, even though it's based on deductive reasoning, 1 + 1 equals, this is, DNA is at a murder scene and you shouldn't have been there. It's your DNA. You murdered the person. They put people in jail for that. And this is just simple deductive reasoning. And, there's no arguing it. There's no other explanation for it. So somebody gave me a $20 donation. Who did that? What's happening to my screen here? Thank you very much for whoever gave the donation. Where is it? So Amanda put up the direct donation thing. Whoever did it, thank you very much. I don't know what the hell YouTube's doing here. I can't find any thing about it. But, there it is. Half-baked. Somebody named Half-Baked Fancy. Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Rick Dara was worse, talking about when I just mentioned Tom Biscardi. I don't mean to be a hater. I just don't mean to. There's a big part of me that's like grateful for Tom Biscardi because he tries and he was trying. Sasquatch are real and he's just trying to move forward. And I don't want to. And I'm not a hater. I don't hate anybody. It sure damaged us though, the Georgia thing, right? And Rick Dyer, didn't it damage us, guys? It damaged authentic research. He's out there crying wolf and Sasquatch are real, and it's like, man, you're damaging us, So, and Rick Dyer, boy, he peed on Jeff Meldrum's book, like urinated on it and lit it on fire. So, after all that Jeff's done, like this, I just love the Sasquatch Field Guide by Jeff Meldrum is amazing. And this is like signed by Jeff Meldrum. He's a hero of mine. And to see somebody urinate on his book and then light it on fire, and there's things that he said, called Sasquatch believers morons, and then he's out trying to say Sasquatch. I don't know. It just does damage, doesn't it? So anyway, so Half-Baked Frenzy, thank you very much. Nice to hear you're not fully baked. Regarding the Kubota incident, if this is indeed a singular dominant male society, is it possible that Kubota was trying to steal another female out of frustration? That is strongly my theory. What my problem is, can I call you Mr. Fancy? My problem, Mr. Fancy, is I'm not sure. A lot of people have been telling me, well, how do you really know it's a male-dominated society? And all the deductive reasoning that I've seen all points to that. So, but people now I'm questioning that theory myself. Maybe there are multiple males that have monogamous relationships with females. The thing is, in nature, the number one piece of evidence that I've seen and that is very clear to me in the tracks and in the Sasquatch that I've seen, there is enormous sexual dimorphism, and that means males are bigger than females. And without question, like birds are the same size, monogamous. I know for a fact that male lions are bigger than female, male dominated, right? Male gorillas are significantly larger than females. They have a harem. So, and it's very clear to me in the tracks, females are lighter, females are not as wide just in the tracks alone. I can tell female tracks now. I know it. The Patterson female that they saw, those tracks, what were they, 15 inches? I can't remember right now, but a male's tracks is 17 and she's 15 inches and her tracks are not really slender, but compared to the males, yes, they're slimmer than the males. So if there's sexual dimorphism, the likelihood of a male-dominated society is enormous. So based on the biology and from what I've seen, I lean heavily towards male-dominated, and then you're totally right. So based on that information, and I'm still 80% male-dominated. I probably last year I'd have told you 95% male-dominated, but in my research, I compare them to a lot to do with gorillas, but a lot to do with the native people. They're a lot like the Native Americans that lived here. The Native Americans had monogamous relationships. They had man, woman, and families. So that's why I dumped down my percentage to like 80 instead of 95, that they're male dominated as opposed to not being male dominated, because that possibility can exist. But let's go with my theory that I'm 80% convinced they're male dominated. Then absolutely. So if you look at it that way, the male wasn't around. There were Sasquatch there, but the dominant male was not there. And we know this because that dominant male came crashing. Like one Sasquatch ran up the hill in the, just off the top of my head. Anyways, they heard King Kong coming. I remember him telling me it sounded like just this monster was bashing. He actually said King Kong. I've said that too. It feels like when the male's coming, the big dominant male, he just smashes through the bush. Like you see trees shaking. King Kong is coming. And maybe that's where King Kong came from. It was Sasquatch, big male Sasquatch. But anyways, that male Sasquatch came bashing through the trees, and he looked at Kubota, and I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but he was telling Kubota to, and Kubota dropped that woman, and Kubota didn't run away from him. Kubota went back into the bush where he was. You would think Kubota would have made a run for it or something. You know what he knows, though, is that's his home, that's his family, and he had nowhere to run. The worst thing you can do is run from the big guy. He's going to get you. He's big and dominant, and if you run from him, he's going to find you. You got nowhere to go. The best thing to do is just to face the music, to go in there, let the big guy slap you around a little bit, take your beating, or just get in trouble, submit to him, apologize, get your forgiveness. Because these guys, they are together. They are a group. They are a family. Whether it's extended family, whether Kubota's related or not, I don't know. But yeah, so getting back to precisely your question, so it is possible Kubota was trying to steal a female of his own, not even another female, I would say just a female for him to have. So the whole look of it was, my theory is Kubota was there with just a bunch of the young males, and Kubota's like, man, I like this girl, let's go snap her up. And then he did that, and Big Daddy came back and said, no, you will not. For whatever the reason is, he said, no, you will not do that. And probably 20 reasons, even knowing that if Kubota bred with her and there's a baby that comes back into the DNA, and who wants human DNA with Sas? I don't want that. I hope he doesn't want that. So but anyways, yeah, so that's precisely, I'm in total agreement with you. So that's going to be our show for today. Thank you again, Mr. Fancy Pants. I haven't seen you here before, Half Baked Fancy. So thanks for tuning in today. It looks like we have quite a few new people in here. So Royal Creations. Yeah, so thanks so much, guys. Oh my God, you guys are hilarious. Thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. I will be doing Wednesday show next week. I don't know what I'm going to do about Throwback Thursdays. It'll be a surprise if you get one, but I'm definitely going to keep doing my Sasquatch Sundays. Life is crazy for me right now, and lots of stuff to work out. So making phone calls, talking to people every day, talking to donators. Half Baked Fancy, you should send us an email, bigfootencounter@gmail.com, or go to my website. There's some contact us stuff, and I could send you some stuff that I can't talk about, but there's some stuff that's kind of cool that you can't really get. That's cool stuff that I've been in. And I can send you some copies of that stuff. And yeah, so I really appreciate the donation. I'm a full-time Sasquatch researcher, and thanks to you, Mr. Fancy, I will continue to be a full-time Sasquatch researcher. And the day this discovery comes to fruition, it's because of people like you and Phil and Amanda and all the people that, have worked so hard for this. All the researchers out there, just so much respect. and all the people that support us. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you very much. You guys take care. I'll be back next Wednesday. Stay tuned for Sasquatch Sunday. That'll be on Sunday. I'll try to get my video up earlier. I think I got it up at like 11 p.m. Sunday Mountain Time. So it's pretty late. That sucks. I'll try to get it up earlier next time. And Sasquatch, Rick's saying Sasquatch got teabagged, or Survivor Man got teabagged by a Sasquatch. It's so fun to laugh. So it doesn't detract from the research.